Let me ask you something. If you're the one holding all the pieces together in your business right now, how long can that really last? You know what I mean? Approving every task, double checking every project, being the go-to for everything. Here's the twist. I run a COO, Chief Operating Officer agency, and we help entrepreneurs and business owners escape that exact trap. And yet, not long ago, I realized I needed my own COO. So today, I'm pulling back the curtain to share why I hired Nicole Gallichio-Elz, one of the best COOs I know, to help me scale and run the COO Solution. We're diving into what really happens when a CEO lets go of control, even someone like me, what it means to have true operational leadership, and why fractional support is more powerful than you think. This episode is personal. I'm a big believer in walking the talk, and this decision, hiring Nicole, was one of the smartest moves I've made for my business. The truth is, even if you can manage your operations yourself, it doesn't mean you should. Most business owners wait too long to bring in real leadership support. They think it's about not being ready, but it's really about capacity. When you reach that tipping point in your growth, you need a trusted second in command who can help you operationalize your vision, manage your team, and remove you as the bottleneck. That's exactly what Nicole did for me and what we're going to unpack today. Hi, I'm Derek Fredrickson. Welcome to the COO Solution Podcast, the show for business owners and visionary leaders who want to scale with clarity, confidence, and the right support. For over 16 years, I've been in the trenches as a fractional COO, Chief Operating Officer, helping entrepreneurs align their teams, streamline operations, and remove bottlenecks that slow growth. I understand the challenges, feeling overwhelmed, stretched too thin, or uncertain about how to scale without burning out. I've helped business owners move from chaos to clarity, creating businesses that run smoothly and grow and scale. Each week, I'll bring you real-world insights, proven strategies, and practical solutions to help you step into your highest role as a leader. Whether it's optimizing your team, strengthening accountability, or building the right systems for growth, this podcast is here to support you in scaling smarter. So if you're ready to create a business that thrives without requiring more of you, let's get started. So welcome everybody to the COO Solution Podcast. I'm very excited to welcome our guest today, Nicole Gallichio-Elz. I'm going to read a brief bio about Nicole. We're very excited to dive in today. So Nicole is a seasoned Chief Operations Officer known for bringing calm to chaos and structure to scaling businesses. With over 15 years of experience in strategic operations, Nicole specializes in transitioning growing teams into high-performing, process-driven organizations. She is also the COO of the COO Solution and a fractional COO for multiple of our clients. She's passionate about empowering founders to lead with clarity, build accountability, and scale sustainably. Nicole's background in science and math gives her a unique analytical lens, while her heart for collaboration makes her a trusted partner in growth. Nicole, it's great to have you. Welcome to our show today.
Thank you, Derek. I'm really happy to be here and talk all things COO, all things OBM, all things strategy. I am excited. It's something I'm obviously passionate about from what you just read. So really thankful to be here.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here. And I feel like I've known you longer, but it's really only been a few months. We've been working together. I think it was November, December that we started, right?
It was November, and it definitely feels longer. Although when I think about it, it also feels like it was just last week. So there's this weird back and forth of almost like a homing feeling too. I love the model. The team is fantastic. So it's been a great couple of months thus far.
Yeah, I've really appreciated working with you. It keeps evolving every week. I feel like there's something different. We're kind of like partners in crime in the things that we're doing to grow the business with our clients and the work that you're doing as a fractional COO. We'll dive into some of that today. But I'd love to just kind of start off with, for our viewers and listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your journey to becoming a COO? How did you feel drawn to that in your kind of professional career? And just tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. So I happened to be talking to another guest on a podcast, and they brought up real early on in childhood that his dad had a construction business, and that's kind of what planted the seed. And I didn't realize until that conversation with that person that my dad owned his own construction business. And I was there with him through the evolution of getting a computer and what invoicing looked like and QuickBooks and Excel and doing that. I'm going to date myself, but from the start of it, right when it first
Yeah.
came on and learning how everything worked,
Yeah.
realizing that seed was planted early and I didn't obviously realize it. At a young age, I interned and quickly became their office manager at a very young age, in conjunction with running the entire front end for a retail store and all of their cash operations that came in and out. So before the age of 20, I was already in a management role. Through college, I loved science, right?
Yeah.
As you said, science and math was where I wanted to go. And after college, I did not want to take just a regular job because obviously I had worn all these hats in this management role. So taking an entry level atmospheric role was like, this does not feel right, but I love it.
Yeah.
So I started a business fresh out of college, got a publishing contract, started writing text, and the business boomed. And I sat in a COO seat.
Wow.
And realized, wow, I fit here, right? From quite a young age. And it's been there since. Every job that I have or role that I've taken on, this is the seat that I've sat in. And I've had a lot of different experiences, so many industries. And it was what really drove me to say, I love the same thing every day, but not in the same space. And I so enjoy watching my experience that I bring to a company, let that company flourish. And then all of the clients that benefit from my advice and the growth, it's been truly rewarding. So, that kind of led me to you, right? Looking to expand this energy and knowledge that I can bring to the table in different ways. And that's part of what I love of being the COO for TCS, because now I'm driving more careers in that way. So that's a little bit about where I've been and how I'm here today.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's been a long journey.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. And it's still a journey. I don't know your age, but I think we're on the same mark and I feel like we have plenty of years to go.
We do. Yeah.
I have a question for you though. With your science and math background, it's very analytical. It's very technical and numbers based. You talk about cash flow and invoicing and QuickBooks and everything else, but you're also like a very, I would say, excellent strategic thinker. And I think one of the things that's interesting about the work that we do and the services we provide to our clients as COOs is that it blends the strategy and the tactical. And I'm curious for you, how did that evolve from tactics, analytics, kind of data driven, which is still there to some extent. We're always looking at numbers and KPIs, but you're also now working with clients on the big picture, the strategy, the future, the growth, the big ideas. How did that transition in that way? And how do you blend the two together? Because sometimes they're like left brain and right brain, but it's like merged together quite often. You have to pivot right back and forth.
I've never been asked this question, but I know the exact answer. So from an atmospheric perspective, while you have the numbers, not everything is quantifiable. So you have to take in other factors that come into play. So it's not a straight, this is the data and this is the output, which is why a lot of people say like, well, why are they getting the weather wrong? Like it's hard because there are so many things on a molecular level that you can't quantify for, and your brain has to think outside the box. Then once I started rolling into business and thinking about marketing and thinking about strategy, that's where I gained that experience and was able to apply that knowledge. And I had taken assessments, obviously, probably 15 years ago when I started, and my assessment looked different, right? It was a little more analytical, and I was leaning into that to drive operations. But once I was certain on processes and I had already knew what needed to be in place in different scenarios, it started to evolve working more with visionaries and leaning into this. You also need vision as a COO to connect the two, right? You're this bridge between what the CEO is thinking and processing that into reality. So you have to have this adaptable brain in order to create the two. And I can definitely see where it started from, because while you can learn coding and you can learn all this stuff, when you're thinking at a big high scale of climate and where we've been and where we need to go, that part of your brain has to work in order to be successful.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's that adaptability. And especially I was talking to somebody this week about it, and I often say, like, the work that we do, right, as COOs, I still consider myself the COO, even though I have the company. It's, as I shared in our team meeting the other day, sometimes I have to like take the hat off and say, like, Derek, CEO, not COO, but it's a combination of both. It's like the horizontal view onto an organization, marketing, sales, operations, and finance, but then it's the vertical view. It's the strategy up with the visionary, with the founder. And then it's the tactics. I don't say down, like it's, but delegating down with the team, with the processes and the people and the structures and everything else. And so we have to kind of like pivot in different ways, depending upon the situation with the client, what's working, what's not working, what's the need, where do we want to strategize, and then put things in place that make that happen. It's a unique skill set and expertise to have the combination of both. It's a little bit like sometimes the visionary and entrepreneur is like the kite, and we're oftentimes like the string. And without the kite, we're like, give us something to do, right? Give us something to make happen. And the kite without a string will sometimes just kind of blow away. Yeah. So we were talking earlier also, before we jumped on, about the idea of kind of fractional leadership, right? This idea of fractional, and what we call part-time, contract, or whatever it is. And part of what we do to our clients is we offer fractional, right? It's not full-time. It's not the full commitment. It gives them the support, the structure, the accountability, and the strategy that they need at a fraction of the time. And whether it's a fractional COO or a fractional OBM, or we were talking even as a virtual assistant, why is it really important for business owners to, in some cases, when they get to that point where they know they can't do it by themselves, they know they need a different solution, and relying on finding the right people, the right team, the right individuals that can come in and help them move the business forward? How do they know, like, when is that time? And how do they know, well, who do I bring on board? Do I get a VA? Do I need a COO? Like, what are some of the factors that contribute to that decision-making process for a business owner?
Yeah. So there's kind of a two-part, right? The how do I know I need someone? I think you'll have that feeling, right? I'm overwhelmed. I'm doing everything. We are on the cusp of growth, but we can't get past this. Maybe you're seeing some frustrations with your team. Things just don't feel aligned, right? You'll start to see the evolution of we're not progressing upwards. We're either stagnant or maybe we're dripping. That's the time, in my opinion, to make a decision, right? So then you have the buckets. I'll start with VA. So VA should be task-based. You have everything in place. You know the process, you have videos, you have SOPs. You need someone to take all of the production and execute it. So it should be not necessarily buttoned up, right? A VA is very capable of being proactive and providing you with advice. These are the delegation tasks, and knowing how to delegate is probably the best way. Obviously, there are VAs that can help you delegate. There are things that if you're not sure, I don't know if I know how to delegate, but you should at least have those tasks in place that you know you want to offload, whether it's inbox, scheduling, customer service tickets. Those are the types that a VA is going to help you with. If you're feeling that there's a gap between someone managing your team and a little bit of strategy, right? Can we talk marketing? I have a marketing plan, but I need someone to really drive the team and implement things and make sure that the engine is turning. That's the OBM seat, right?
Yeah.
And they'll drive the VA, they'll drive your team, they'll report back to you. Where are we with different stats? If you're a CEO that is solo and you don't know how further to grow, things feel just truly disorganized, and you have no other strategy leader or thought partner, that's where the fractional COO comes into play. And we talked about not needing to hire an entire team, right? You can start small, and maybe you start with an OBM and you realize, oh gosh, I definitely need a COO to talk high level things, right? What is going to make the biggest impact? What products do, have the biggest ROI? Let's look at all of this from a high level. That's the COO space that's going to start to make things move and to drive that needle. And a fractional COO is ideal. And in my opinion, there are, a fractional COO is going to have other experiences that are very unique to bring to the table, where if you're hiring specific to bring on a full-time person, they may have been a COO somewhere else just in that nature. They don't have this great deal of, working with 100 different industries. I've seen bits and pieces of everything and what works and what doesn't work. And it brings this creative nature to having a fractional COO that a full-time one may not have.
Yeah. I love the analogy you did for like VA, OBM, COO. I was thinking while you were sharing, like there's almost like a theme or a word that goes with each one. Like, tell me if you think this is right, but VA is about like execution, right? It's like, get it done, right? Task oriented. OBM, you use the word drive, and they're driving the implementation. They're making the project real in a way. And then the COO is the partner. And I love that because oftentimes we refer to the work that we do. We are that second in command, right? We run your business for you or with you. And when I say for you, that doesn't mean out of control. It's actually giving you control back to the business owner. And it's that partnership. It's that second in command. It's that trusted, strategic, thoughtful of all of the things that are going on that you can rely on. And as we've talked about in our work together, trust is a huge value in everything that we do with our clients, and being able to have that trust of somebody that you can share with, that you can bounce ideas off of, you can get their feedback, and also trust them to, again, go and make it happen with the team and the processes and everything else. One of the first clients I worked with as their fractional COO, I mean, they made up the joke, but have you ever seen, I know this is totally off topic, but have you ever seen the movie The Godfather?
Of course.
Okay. The consigliere, like the one that's the voice of reason that the Godfather consults to. And so sometimes we would do a slide presentation and like in Derek, and it would be a picture of I don't even remember the guy's name, but the consigliere in the photo.
That's perfect. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I love that. I'm curious that when you are working with clients as a fractional COO, like you mentioned, this analogy, like full-time, it might be somebody who's just like they've been a COO in the exact same industry. And we get this question a lot. Does a COO, a fractional COO, do they have to have specific industry, market, niche experience in order to move the needle and do the great work that they're to do? Or is it not as necessary? Can they look at it in a more, I don't want to say generic, but is that a criteria that matters?
My knee-jerk reaction is no. A seasoned fractional COO will not need to know because they should learn as they go. There are plenty of situations where I've stepped in and yes, I know a little bit about accounting, but the overall day-to-day, you'll pick up. And those conversations happen naturally. You need to know, you need to dive in what the team is doing, what the service is. But at the end of the day, it's what you're talking about with the leader and what their plan is, where you can learn about the industry, you can learn about the service. It's more the skill set that you're bringing to the table that I think is really important. And I think the bigger connection is the behavioral style fit and the work style fit, knowing that you understand what their Colby is and you understand how to work with them is bigger priority for success, in my opinion, than knowing the industry. Because in one of the cases that I'm working with, the industry is failing. So thinking outside the box as to what else can we offer our clients, what else can we bring to the table? Are there different ideas out there? Can we offer a different solution? Is something that someone in the industry may not be in tune with. So I think there's a really big benefit of knowing other industries and not necessarily just have focused in that industry for your entire career.
And I agree. And we get this question a lot. That's why it was great to hear your kind of input for our audience, because I know that sometimes people ask that question and I'll often say at the end of the day, like marketing is marketing, sales is sales, operations is operations, no matter what the service, the delivery, whatever it is. And finance is the output of really doing really good marketing, sales, and operations. And I agree, because when we come in, we have this different perspective. We have this fresh look that may not be from that exact industry, and that can be learned. We're natural fact finders and problem solvers and getting information that's going to provide that context. Shifting gears just a little bit, in the client work that you do as a fractional COO, I'm curious in the scope of how you support the client and the work that you're doing with the visionary, with the team. Are there common themes? Are there common challenges that you've seen in some of the client work? Are there common opportunities that you're helping to kind of initiate and move forward? Like, because it varies, right? Every client is different. Their challenges are different, but are there themes that come up that tend to be more present than others?
Definitely. The biggest theme I think I've seen is they don't have anyone that's been a strategic partner or leader at the level that a fractional COO is offering them or that I am offering them. That's been the most common theme. The second most common theme is uncovering things that they did not know was going on within the company and bringing things to light where they may have had blinders on, or not necessarily blinders, but they were so focused on a couple of things that a visionary should be focused on that they weren't attuned to everything that was going on a different level, and coming in and assessing everything and auditing what's going on with the company. That's a typical thing that I see, a typical theme that, oh my gosh, I didn't know they were operating like this. Let's just fix it. And it's a quick change. And most of them are on really, like I said, on that cusp of growth, but they don't know how to take the next step. And that is also, I would say, the third common theme, that how do I think outside of my next step? How do I grow from 6 figures to 7 or 7 to 8? What are the next steps and how do we get there? I think those are the biggest ones that I see across the board.
Yeah. How do you find, we use the term embedding. When we work with a client, we embed the fractional COO, the fractional OBM into the organization quickly, which is not easy to do because they have their team, they have their structures or processes, or maybe lack thereof. And to some extent, there's that element of trust with the visionary in order to step in and rely and say, you can give it to me. I've got it. We'll make it happen. We'll make it real. We'll make it recur. But in reality, like, I'm curious, how do you do that? Like, what are some of the things that you do when you first work with the client as their fractional COO to kind of establish that upfront kind of trust and understanding and giving them the permission to let go of control? Because that's why we're here, is to not to take control, but to give them control back by owning things and implementing things and making things happen. How do you do that in the very beginning quite quickly with an organization, the visionary, the team, et cetera?
Yeah. So I told you when I first came on that I'm very hands-on, right? There, I'm going to dive in. I'm very tactical and very technical. And that is my go-to, where you could come in and you can talk strategy and thoughts. And my trust building is to talk with them, give me a task. I'm taking a task off your plate right now.
Yeah.
And that is the trust building exercise that I immediately do, whether it's before our onboarding call, whether it's during our onboarding call. I am taking something directly off their plate. It's not the same for everyone. That's something that just comes up in conversation. I ask a lot of questions. They're not all the same questions. It's not something that I have a list of, oh, these are the questions I'm going to ask Derek today because I'm working with Derek. It is something that happens organically as I start to think outside of the box. And those are the types of tasks that I begin to take off their plate, because trust is really important. So you're going to want to ask them to give you something, do it immediately. We're not waiting. You're not getting it to them next week. You need to do it now. And that's been my process to build trust. And I come in kind of as a shock because I ask a lot of questions. My brain needs to understand high level to start, or top to bottom, to really understand what's going on. I would say, like, by week 2, we're in shock phase. Like, oh my gosh, you uncovered all of this. You did all of that in 2 weeks. How did we get here so quick? That's been my strategy for a really long time. I think it's come from, I did fractional HR/COO for a while. And when you're working in the HR space, things come up that were always unexpected. So learning to pivot and ask questions, it really evolved from that type of work that I was doing. That's more urgent rather than let's just chat strategy for a little bit. You have to dive in. And that's been my go-to.
And it's an element of both. Sometimes in our experience, like the visionary, I love this expression, they want to throw spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And we're wired sometimes to, like, we're already thinking about how to make the spaghetti, how to serve it, what goes with it, when it's being served, how much of it's going to, And so we have to throttle ourselves, because I think we're wired, and our zone of genius in some respect is like, we're going to make it happen. Let me at it. And whether it's big picture, or sometimes, like, we can get into the details, but we also know that's not always where our value is best served. But because we're focused on how do we do things more efficiently? How do we do things more effectively? We've talked about this, where we focus on what we're doing with the client as much as how we're doing it, because oftentimes the how is the thing that's been getting in the way, because there is no structure or system or process in place. And so we're having to do all of that at the same time. The question I have for you about that is, how do you kind of prevent yourself from getting into the
And pull
weeds.
back.
Like you
Yeah.
could go in,
Mhm.
and you've seen me do this with COO Solution. I'm like, okay, hold on. How do you do that? How do you manage that?
You just have to know the level. For example, working with a client and headfirst in all of it. Right now, I
Yeah.
understand everything. And if the team's not executing the way that they're supposed to be executing, understanding that step, well, okay, this is where I'm drawing the line. I can't execute everything for them. Now we have to think strategy. What are we doing that if the team is not executing the way they're supposed to be?
Mhm.
And that's the line that comes back to, okay, let's think bigger picture. But in order to think bigger picture, you do have to know that nitty gritty. So
Yeah.
it's a strategic dive, and
Yeah.
it's not the same for everyone. Everyone is different, but knowing and reminding yourself of boundaries, expectations, and goals that we have set as a team, planning accordingly and knowing enough is enough.
Yeah.
Basically, take your foot off the throttle, take a step back. We've taken the dive we needed to. Is not the same timeline for everyone.
Yeah.
I would say I would put a timeline on it. If you're 2 months into working with a client and you're still doing day-to-day tasks,
Yeah.
that something is wrong. But somewhere in the middle, it's okay to fluctuate. It also depends on how much time
Yeah.
you're working and dedicating with
Of course.
a team, right? That matters too. So
Yeah.
it is an experience thing as well to know what's the chaos and how to draw the chaos back and when to think big picture.
In some respect, we're focusing on like what's happening today, what's happening this week, what's happening next month, what's happening next quarter, what's happening for the rest of the year. And we're, again, like that timeline, we're having to pivot because there may be things that are going on today that need our attention and focus and support today. But then we're like, let's make sure we're looking ahead to the next week, the next month ahead, because there's that planning perspective, which in some cases is not there. And then, okay, we know the idea, we know the plan. And then, as we say, reverse engineer to make that happen.
Yeah.
I love that. A couple of months ago, I asked you to step in and help me as a fractional COO for the COO Solution. This episode is titled, in some respect, Walking the Talk. This is what we offer. This is what we support our clients with. And I'm just curious, like when I had that conversation with you, or I reached out, I don't even know exactly how. What was your thought? What was your perspective of like, it makes sense. I mean, Derek's doing everything by himself to some extent. We had a team, we were getting a lot of traction, momentum. And then what's it been like kind of stepping in to help me and partner with me? That's the partnership as that second in command in the work that we're doing as we continue to grow and scale the COO Solution, which has been happening quite rapidly over the last few months.
Yeah, very rapidly. It was something that I wasn't looking for when I first came on board. And once we talked and I understood where you were going with the growth of the business, it's a seat that I love to sit in, right? It was something that I was so excited about because while I love being a fractional COO in different industries, I am passionate about being a fractional COO
Yeah.
and knowing that I could give my experience to other fractional COOs was like, that's it. I love this.
Yeah.
This is something that I thrive on because now they're going to take what I've helped them with and it spreads. It is wonderful to be in this seat and see the growth of how other companies are benefiting from a fractional COO. And I'm so grateful to be here because it's something that I'm truly engaged with and I'm looking forward to seeing it grow further. So
yeah, it's interesting because I get to see it. I mean, we see it together with the clients that we work with in some respect, but in terms of the reliability and the strategic partnership that I have with you to lean on in the same way that you do with our other clients and kind of building this in a way for scale, building this for long-term growth. We just did our team meeting yesterday. We, 15 or so people, and it's been growing every time we get together every month. And I think between you and I, leveraging our team, but also supporting them and guiding them in what they're doing, but also in some respect in how we're doing it. Again, it's kind of like walking the talk because the way that I'm wired and you're wired, we're looking at, well, what could we do to serve our clients better, to support our team better, to provide a better service, while also at the same time thinking, how can we do that? How can we systematically do that for scale? So if we have now, say, 20 clients, what's going to be in place for 40 or 60 clients? And I've always thought like that systematically in a process-driven way. But now I think with your help kind of helping me kind of pull out more of like, well, what's your plan? What is the bigger vision? What is the big picture? It's been really beneficial to have that in place. And I've enjoyed doing that together for sure.
Yeah. And it's a unique model, right? Because you have the COO hat.
Yeah.
So to see our different ideas come together, it's been a blessed situation because it's not something that you deal with every day. You're used to the other side where you're working with a visionary who is high level and quick start. It's been wonderful.
Wonderful. Anything else that you want to share, Nicole? Any other kind of final thoughts, insights, reflections, tips, tricks, strategies, anything else?
I think for our listeners, if you're listening from the space of, do I need a fractional COO and what are they going to do for me? I want them to think about, what would you do if you had 10 hours, even just 10 hours a week back of your time? How could you expand your company with just 10 hours? That's something I don't think a lot of CEOs are thinking about right now, right? They're thinking, well, how can I grow and what can I do? But you as a visionary are most of the time the biggest draw to your company, whether it's for your team, whether it's for your audience, your service, the most important part. And having time to sit and be a visionary is so important to the growth. And that even just 10 hours is transformational, in my opinion, to how your company is going to evolve over the next year, 3, 5 years. So for our listeners, I really want to plant that seed of think about what 10 hours could do for you and how far it can grow.
Yeah, I love that. It's oftentimes giving them the space to think about what it could be, what it could look like, because oftentimes they don't, because they're just so focused on the day-to-day and the busyness and everything else. And then, they get that quantity of time back, but in some respect, they get that energy back because they feel more excited. They feel more empowered. They feel like they can have faith and trust and confidence in a trusted second in command fractional COO to make that happen. Start somewhere. It could be a VA. It could be an OBM. It could be a COO. But knowing that, I know it sounds cliche, but like what got you here is not going to get you there. And that's the path to scale and to grow. So wonderful. And you might be listening and wondering again, like, is now the time to bring on a fractional COO or OBM? So a little plug here, you can go to the COOsolution.com. There's a free quiz assessment there that allows you to understand, is now the time to think about bringing on a fractional COO or OBM. It's very thorough. It's very helpful in looking at the different parts of your business, or marketing, sales, operations, finance, your team, what's working, what's not working, what's the gap. Then so you can check that out on the website if you're interested. And this was a really great conversation, Nicole. I enjoyed having you. Thank you so much. And thanks for being on the COO Solution Podcast. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks, Derek.
You're welcome. And that's a wrap on this episode of the COO Solution Podcast. If you found today's conversation valuable, I'd love it if you could subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to get control of their business and scale it with a second in command that they trust to handle all the daily tasks and operations they don't enjoy. And hey, maybe you're wondering if now is the time to bring on a trusted fractional COO or Chief Operating Officer to help your thriving business scale with clarity and confidence. If you're tired of doing it alone, visit thecoosolution.com and take our free quiz to help determine if now is the right time to bring a fractional COO to help you scale. In just 25 questions, you'll get a personalized report that helps you decide if your business is ready for the game-changing support of a part-time fractional COO. Let's find out together if it's your next step. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, let's roll up our sleeves and get to work.